It's extremely rare to hear anyone refer to terrestrial animals as monsters, especially after the dinosaurs went extinct. 99% of the time, the fellas in the deep sea take that title. But there were a few moments in Earth's history when that wasn't really the case. After the reign of the non-avian dinosaurs ended around 66 million years ago, you'd think the age of land monsters was over. But it wasn't. In fact, nature had just started getting creative with some terrifying creatures that redefined what it meant to be a monster on land. Meet Barinasuchus, a terrifying predator that lived in prehistoric South America during the Miocene epoch, around 15 million years ago. This ancient reptile belonged to a group called sebecids, 100% land-dwelling relatives of modern crocodiles, growing up to 6 meters or around 20 feet and weighing about a ton, equivalent to 1,000 kilograms. That's about the length of a modern-day limousine and as heavy as a compact sedan, but with jaws built for bone-crushing violence. Barinasuchus was nothing like the slow, water-loving ambush hunter we think of when we imagine crocodiles today. Instead, it was a fully terrestrial predator, built for life only on land. And like that wasn't enough, it had legs that were held more directly beneath its body, giving it a much higher stance and allowing it to walk and possibly run with a gait more like a dinosaur or a large mammal. Now imagine that for a second. It had a skull as long as a baseball bat and a bite force of over 10,000 newtons, strong enough to crush a bowling ball in a single snap. And not to mention, this was what they were biting with. And here's where it gets even more interesting. It evolved to fill the same ecological role as theropod dinosaurs like T-Rex or Allosaurus. Although crocodiliforms and dinosaurs aren't closely related, both developed similar traits, like bipedal postures, sharp teeth, and forward-facing eyes, because they faced similar survival challenges. This is a textbook example of convergent evolution, when unrelated species evolve similar features to adapt to the same lifestyle. So while Barinasuchus wasn't a dinosaur, it looked and hunted like one, basically becoming nature's second shot at creating a land-based killing machine. But Barinasuchus wasn't the only monster prehistoric South America unleashed. During the early Pleistocene epoch, about 2.5 to 1 million years ago, in the wild landscapes of South America, Arctotherium angustidens emerged as one of the most powerful land carnivores ever known, basically the Ice Age bear king. Standing up to 3.5 meters, that's around 11.5 feet, on its hind legs and weighing over 3,300 pounds, it was the largest bear and possibly the largest terrestrial mammalian carnivore ever recorded. Its biomechanical structure was built for raw power. With massive limb bones, reinforced joints, and a broad chest, Arctotherium's pinning strength was likely immense, easily enough to slam and hold down animals nearly its own size. Based on its limb proportions and bone density, its forelimb force could have rivaled or even exceeded that of a modern grizzly bear, which can swipe with over 800 pounds of force. To visualize that, imagine a heavyweight UFC fighter trying to hold you down. Now multiply that by 10 and give it claws the size of steak knives. That's the kind of crushing dominance Arctotherium had. And in simple terms, I think it's safe to say that Arctotherium angustidens was a walking fortress, part predator, part bulldozer, that had managed to combine the strength of a gorilla on steroids and the size of a fully loaded pickup truck on its hind legs. This bear ruled the Ice Age like no carnivore today. But if we are to rewind further down the timeline, way before the reign of the bears, Africa was home to a completely different set of land monsters. One of the most terrifying of these ancient predators was Megistotherium osteothlastes, also known as Africa's bone crusher, for obvious reasons. This guy literally had a skull the size of a Peel P50, brimming with powerful jaw muscles capable of delivering one of the most forceful bites in prehistoric history. Given its massive size and strength, it basically terrorized anything that moved, from early relatives of elephants, like the Gomphotherium, which were pretty large and bulky creatures, although not as massive as modern elephants, prehistoric rhinoceroses, as well as large mammals like Entelodonts and Andrewsarchus. Though exact details of its hunting behavior still remain speculative, Megistotherium likely used ambush tactics and overwhelming strength, similar to modern big cats. It would have concealed itself in terrain like dense vegetation or rocky outcrops, waiting patiently for the right moment to strike. Once within range, it would launch a swift attack, using its size and strength to overpower the prey, potentially knocking it down or breaking bones to prevent escape. The wear patterns observed on its fossilized teeth suggests it ate not only the meat of its prey, but also the bones. The worst thing is, these guys weren't the only megapredators that terrorized prehistoric mammals just because they could. The Entelodont did even worse. This is not a pig, neither is it a wild boar. This belonged to an extinct family called Entelodontidae that were only loosely related to today's suids. Both belonged to the order Artiodactyla, even-toed ungulates, but Entelodonts branched off early and formed their own unique lineage. So while Entelodont and modern boars share a common ancestor, if you go far enough back, Entelodont was more like a dead-end cousin than a grandparent. It's closer in evolutionary terms to hippos and whales than to actual pigs. Towering nearly 9 feet long and weighing around 2,000 pounds, Entelodont combined the brute strength of a bear with the ferocity of a short-tempered carnivore. And with that, it didn't just hunt. It bullied other apex predators off their kills, chased down weaker prey, and feasted on both flesh and bone, similar to how hyenas behave today. It was an opportunistic nightmare, scavenger, predator, and brute all in one. This walking nightmare terrorized prehistoric Europe and Asia. But the next land beast on this list is so dangerously mysterious, even scientists haven't figured it out yet. In 1923, buried in the windswept sediments of Mongolia, paleontologists uncovered a single colossal skull over 80 centimeters long. It belonged to Andrewsarchus, a creature now estimated to have stretched 4 meters, about 13 feet in length, and weighed around 2,204 pounds. But beyond the skull, nothing else was ever found. The skull alone, however, tells a dramatic story. Thick-boned and massively elongated, it housed a set of jaws so robust they could crush bone with terrifying force. Estimated between 6,000 and 10,000 newtons, possibly even higher. For comparison, the modern mammal with the most powerful bite is the polar bear, at around 6,000 newtons. Spotted hyenas follow at roughly 5,000 newtons, and lions come in at about 4,500 newtons. Like that wasn't enough, it had some of the most powerful and highly specialized set of teeth ever seen in a land mammal. The front incisors were built for gripping and tearing flesh, while the rear premolars were shaped like shearing blades, capable of slicing through muscle. Basically, a walking meat processing machine wrapped in bones. Structurally, its jaws hint at a megapredator, or at the very least, a highly dominant scavenger. The sheer size of the skull, combined with its mechanical design, forced paleontologists to take notice that among all known land-dwelling mammalian carnivores, extinct or living, Andrewsarchus appeared to dwarf them all in raw power and potential size. No bear, hyena, or big cat matched the terrifying combination of mass and jaw mechanics packed into this creature's head. The proportions alone suggested an animal that could dominate its environment through sheer physical presence, and that's without even seeing the rest of the body. Most estimates suggest Andrewsarchus measured up to 4 meters long and stood 6 feet tall at the shoulder. Though some proposed a boar-like build, the most accepted view favors a powerful wolf or bear-like body. Kindly like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And as always, I'm DM. See you in the next one.